If you have an online business, one of the biggest things that we have to do is create content. Creating content is a way for us to share our voice, our message with our audience and get it out there. But it can also be so bloody confusing to think of like, what am I actually meant to create? And then obviously that imposter syndrome creeps in. It can feel really challenging. So I want to take you behind the scenes of how I got started with creating content and what it looked like for me, and like how this can be simple. When I started the Female Entrepreneur Association, one of the first things that I began to create for content was an interview series called How She Did It. Because in networking and getting out there and connecting and having conversations with people, I realized that people are really interested and love talking about themselves. So for me, I was like, okay, I want to help bring women together. I want to inspire women. And I realized that if I interviewed women and shared their stories on how they'd built their businesses, it made them feel good because they were like, yeah, thanks for asking me. I'd love to share my story with you, even though my website had zero traffic. They liked to be asked. So it then got them interested in what I was doing and they wanted to know more about what I was creating. So I used LinkedIn and in-person networking to start asking women and saying, oh my gosh, you've got like such an amazing story. I would love to share it. I would love to like interview you. And so I would ask them like a series of really simple questions, and I just published their articles on my website. The people whose stories I published started sharing it with their audience. And so people then started finding FBA and people started talking about my business because they then wanted to be published. So then it became about like, oh, how can I get my story featured? So for you, if you think about content, maybe you want to start a business around being a mum. So maybe you could go and have conversations with other mums and say, I'd love to chat with you and talk about the realities of being a mum, the challenges and the struggles that we face. And say, if any of you have experienced this and would love to talk about it, or I'd love to chat and like share your story. What I found at the beginning was I did not have the confidence in myself to share my own content. So it was easier for me to share other people's content. It was easier for me to share someone else's story than my own story. It was easier for me to share someone else's tips rather than my own tips. So instead of forcing myself to do it, I did something that I felt like I could do. So when you're creating content, what does that look like for you? As we take these tiny little steps that feel doable, all of a sudden more feels doable, then more, until like now, for example, I can create videos and I can do podcasts and I can do all sorts of stuff because over the years, I've just kind of, my confidence has grown and grown in what I know I'm capable of. So how could you make creating content easier for yourself? One of the other things I started doing early on, I started to make a weekly video. And in my weekly video, at that point, I felt like I had the confidence to create videos and to share a few tips on how to build a successful business. The videos were bloody awful. They were so bad. I literally filmed them, I edited them, and they were bad, but I gave myself permission to just publish them and to get going with them, with where I was at with them. I didn't wait to have it perfectly figured out with video. I didn't wait to have a mic or like a super fancy camera. I just got going with what I had and just put it out there. What do you feel comfortable putting out there? One of the easier things I think is actually sitting down with the microphone and just speaking into it, speaking your message into it and doing a podcast. Like just literally giving yourself permission to just sit there and talk about a topic and talk about a story or talk about your ideas or your tips. Let it flow out of you into the microphone, like channel that message that you're here to share. Create your content, roll your sleeves up, get messy with it, be imperfect, because the more you create and the more you start putting your message out there, the more you're going to start refining and refining and refining that message. You can then take it to the next level and maybe you create your course or your membership or whatever it is that you want to create and sell. Start off early, creating that content, add that value, go for it. So I want to take this a step further in the next episode and talk about PR and how PR really, really helped me at the beginning and how it can help you and how you don't need to be at a certain level to take advantage of PR and get media exposure. So I'm going to dive all into that in the next episode, so I will see you there. If you want more help to build a really successful online business, then come and take our quiz. We're going to ask you a few simple questions, and then after that, we'll give you a personalized plan for how you can build a really successful business based on where you are at. Go and take it, the link is below, and I will see you in the next episode.